Felicity Palmateer. Fleet, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good, good. What are you just eating? What are you just chowing down early in the morning over there? Vegemite?
No, yeah, no. In Australia, yeah, very typical Vegemite. No, I just I had a really strong coffee, and I was like, oh, I think I feel a slight bit of anxiety coming on, so I just had like a couple of bites of banana.
Are
Mm.
you are you actually you're in WA, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm down south in Margaret River. Yeah.
Cool. Are you back there for good? Were you or did you move?
Yes.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. I'm back here for good. Yeah.
Yeah, because you were living
Yes.
at Burley Heads there for a while, huh?
Yeah, yeah. I was living there, and that was really good. Like I was there for 6 years. And yeah, I really loved it, but it's been a long time coming. Yeah, coming back to Western Australia, and yeah, just feeling really good and feeling really settled, and um, yeah, it's been a long time coming.
Yeah, because you were
Mm.
so you were born in Perth, right?
Yeah, yeah, I was born in Perth, and then we moved down south to Margaret River, and I did a bit of school here, and then moved back to Perth, and then now I'm back down south. So just kind of split my time between the two.
Yeah.
Mm.
How was it growing up in Western Australia? It's pretty rugged, you know what I mean? Like I sort of, to me, it seems like when you're driving up, like Northern California, you know, and you're up around that Mavericks, Big Sur area, like it's sort of raw and rugged, like it's nothing like the East Coast, you know what I mean? Like you definitely, it seems like you learn to grow up fast and big waves, scary animals.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, it's definitely a stark contrast from the East Coast to the West Coast. They both have the beauties about them. I mean, I'm so biased, and I always say I love Western Australia over the East Coast because I was born here. But it is just so rugged and so raw, and it hasn't. The coastline hasn't been that touched. A lot of our coastline, especially down south here in Margaret River, is actually national park, so can never be touched, and is almost like the day, it hasn't changed so much. So it's just beautiful, and but then it's a stark contrast from the north of WA to the south of WA. You get such a difference in the landscapes. Like up north is red dirt and blue
Mm.
ocean, and down south is just like this big, like Australian bush and just cold water and yeah, big animals.
It's funny you say that because I've been trying to get you on the podcast for a few weeks now, and you actually had gone up north, right? I think you went up to spend a little while up chasing some waves further north.
Yeah, yeah. So I did 7 weeks up
Wow.
north in remote Western Australia. Just no, I think that was the first time since I've had a phone that I went without having reception for 7 weeks. No social media, no phone, no emails, like barely. Every now and then, I get like a little beep beep, and then all my emails would come in. I'd be like, oh god. But it was amazing. Like that place is so special, and to have something like that, and to be able to, I feel so grateful to come from Western Australia and be able to experience something like that because there's very few places left in the world like it. And the waves are amazing. We get to escape the winter and go up north, and it's warm water, warmer water, warm temperatures on the land, and yeah, it's just a beautiful place, like where the desert meets the ocean, and lots of good, big, long left-hand barrels.
Yeah, I was about to say. So did you score some swell? Because I always look because if quarantine wasn't on and this whole COVID whatever is going on, I probably would have flew to Western Australia a couple of times this year because there's been some big swells marching down underneath there. So did you get some good waves while you were yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We were really lucky actually. We ended up getting three really good swells, and it was because of COVID, a lot of people uh, that usually leave WA around the school holidays time were all up at Nalu or the Bluff or whatever. But so it was quite crowded in the water, but there was still a lot of waves to be had, and a lot of waves going through that everyone was like, oh, I don't know if I want that one. It's honestly, if I that wave's up there with one of the most heaviest waves in the world, Nalu. Pound for pound, like it's insane the amount of water that moves, and yeah, it definitely humbles you pretty quickly. But we were really lucky, there was lots of waves to be had, and the crowd wasn't too bad, and yeah, just grateful to come from here and be able to still
Yeah.
surf waves like that.
Yeah, that's awesome. So like what was Flick like growing up? Like what was it like growing up in WA? You know, like when did I saw you have two younger brothers,
Three
and
now.
three younger brothers.
Now, yeah, my dad just had another kid, so.
Oh wow, there you
Mm,
go. So you got
mm.
three. So what was it like growing up? Did you start surfing at a young age, or were you into other sports, or what was it like growing up in WA?
Yeah, so I guess my whole family were just a bit of a beach family. Mum and dad loved the beach. And at that point, I only had two younger brothers, Luke and Alex, and they'd always take us down there. And so I just fell in love with the ocean, I guess, from an early age. And dad, he surfs and he was surfing all the time still. And we were either living down here, down south in Margaret River or in Perth. And no matter where we were, my parents would take us to the beach. Anyway, my dad, I guess, wanted my brothers, either Luke or Alex, to get into surfing because he could have like that father-son relationship. So he was like trying to teach them. And I guess I saw him down the beach one day in Perth, like trying to push Luke or Alex into a wave. And I was like, damn, like I want to do that. So I grabbed the bodyboard and anyway, just ran out and was like trying to stand up on this bodyboard. And dad was like, oh crap, I better teach her. And I remember then he was like, oh, okay, I think I have something here. Like she actually does want to try. And anyway, so he was like, I really wanted a wetsuit. And he was like, I'll only get you a wetsuit if you come surfing with me every day of the week for 1 week. And I was like, fine, all right, sold. Because I just wanted a cool wetsuit. And I think I was about 6 years old at this time. And and since then it was just like, I just fell in love with it. I don't specifically remember my first wave, but just the time at the beach, spending time with my family, that connection with the ocean and nature and just, yeah, anyway. But I since then, like I'd go every day before school and after school with dad. But back then, I mean, there was no goals of becoming a big wave surfer. I wanted to be on tour and be on the QS and then the CT. So, but I guess I only started to realize that at about age 12 when I realized there was contests and that you could actually maybe make a career out of surfing. And it was actually funny because my dad, he didn't want me to compete because he thought that if I competed that I'd fall out of love with surfing and he'd lose his surfing buddy. And he was like, oh, no, I don't want you to. And I was like, please, 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 please let me enter. And he was like, no. And then I was like, fine. So I grabbed the phone and I entered myself into my first surf comp. And then he was like, all right, she really wants to do it. So he took me down and it was at Trig Beach in Perth, and that's where I learned to surf. And it's actually probably one of the, I shouldn't say this because everyone from there will hate me, but it really is not a great wave. Anyway, it's good on its day. And anyway, so he took me down there and I actually ended up winning that contest. And he was like, all right, wow, okay. And so since then I was like hooked. I was like, right, I want to be a pro surfer, and I want to be just like Layne Beachley because that's who then. So, yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, I'm going through the same thing. My two daughters, Nevaeh, she has turned 5, and my 2-year-old's going to turn 3 in a couple of weeks. And even here, like I think about when you guys are growing up in Western Australia or people that are growing up in Northern California or Europe, like you've really got to want to, because to get in your full suit, it's cold, like to actually want to go surfing, like you really have to want to. Like in Hawaii here, I can not manipulate a bad word, but I can like, let's go to the beach and go surf, because you don't need to put that wetsuit on. It's a lot easier to get them to the beach and then like get them on a board, so it's just a different, because even here they get cold, and then like after, even with a little wetsuit on in Hawaii, they're getting cold.
Oh yeah. No, you guys are very lucky there because I mean, even now it's freezing. It's the middle of winter. Well, we're coming out of winter here, but I remember there'd be some mornings before school. I mean, I really wanted it. Like I really wanted it then. And I still want it now, but like, I'm like, I don't have to be in school. Or like uni or anything or college. So I'm not getting up early when it's freezing cold. But back then I was like, I don't care. Any time in the water is good time. Like, I don't care if we have to get up at 4:30 a.m. and it's like -2 degrees and I'm putting on a full suit. I don't care. I want it. It's just that stoke. When you first fall in love with surfing, you do anything to get in the ocean.
So that's 12 years old. You're probably just in high school. Is there any like because you're a really athletic girl, woman, like was there anything else? Like were you good at other sports that helped you with this, or is it just full on? I'm going to be a surfer. That's all that matters.
So my brothers are pretty talented at playing soccer, and one in particular, Luke, he went to the US and he got a scholarship to play over there, and he's amazing. And he would probably laugh at me if I said that I actually was okay at soccer because he probably thinks the opposite. But I was all right, and so I played soccer a bit, and I liked that, and I liked going to watch them play. But honestly, it was just surfing, and my dad was like my coach back then, and he was so supportive, and would do anything for me, and just take me to the beach and film me, and then we'd go back and watch the footage. Like I was very obsessed with becoming the best surfer you could be.
Yeah. And at this stage, are you still like going back and forth from Perth down south to Margaret River, or?
Well, yeah, pretty much. So I've got a place in Perth, and then but I've got all my family down here too. So Josh, who's my cousin, Josh and Brooke, they actually surfed on the tour for a few years. Josh did really well. And anyway, so they both live down here, and I've got family down here, but my immediate family's in Perth. So I go back a lot and spend time with them. So yeah, just back and forth, but I base myself here just because of the waves and access to good quality big waves a lot of the time. So yeah, here's the spot.
And then did you go through that process like that most kids in Australia do? The Pro Junior Series is such a big thing back then when you were probably competing. So like, you've got your Western Australian state champs, and then the Australian championships and all those little contests in between. I was looking on your Wikipedia page, and it showed all your little contest results of Taj's small fries and Parko's Grom Stomp, and Australia. I feel like Australia, if you really want to be a pro surfer in Australia, you've got such a great platform to do that with all the contests, and with Surfing Australia, the great job that they do, and then all this, the sub surfing, Surfing Western Australia, Surfing Victoria and New South Wales. There's just so much support behind it. So obviously you went through that same process to get to the QS, right?
Yeah. I mean, we're so lucky in Australia. We really do, like you said, have such an amazing kind of stepping stone thing of events here. There's something for every level of surfing, whether that be you're just starting out and you can join your local board riders club, and you compete in a couple of local contests in your state, and then you can go to state rounds and then Aussie titles, or pro juniors. There's so many opportunities here in Australia, and it's so lucky. But in saying that, coming from Western Australia, I'm so thankful that it's so isolated now. But back then, it was tough because for me, I mean, I do all the contests locally, like state rounds and board riders club events and Taj's small fries. But you're almost at a disadvantage coming from Western Australia because, it's like coming from, it's as far away from the east coast of Australia as what Los Angeles is to New York. Like it's a 5-hour flight, it's expensive. And when you're a young kid and, I mean, we didn't grow up poor or anything, but, we weren't very rich. So it's like, okay, shit, we're going to make a commitment here. Like, is our daughter really going to make it? Like, we going to invest this money into her to like take her to the East Coast and compete in contests over there? And, we had a small group of girls here that I would surf with and compete with, like Bronte, Macaulay, Laura Macaulay, Michaela and Eliza Green. But other than that, it was a very small group of girls. And I think, it's just harder because you kind of have to really make that commitment that this is what I'm going to do. And your parents as well, they're like, wow, okay. So, I'm so grateful that they did, and especially my dad. And so, I mean, and where am I going here? And then I guess so I did those events, and then anyway, flew to the East Coast and started doing those junior events over there. And then I started the Pro Junior Series, and I had a quite successful junior career. I got finished second on the Pro Junior Series, and I went to Aussies, and I went to ISA Worlds, and I got fifth in ISA Worlds. And then after that, I went on the QS, but I was also doing the Pro Juniors at the same time, same year. I feel like I was doing too much and just trying to succeed on the Pro Junior Series and the QS. And honestly, it was a lot. when you're 17, 18 years old and traveling around the world, and you with women that are on the tour that are doing this, and I'm just fresh out of school.
Yeah.
But anyway, then in 2000 and I think it was 2013, I finished 7th on the QS, and they take top 6, so one spot short of qualifying, and that's pretty tough because it's your whole world, and well, back then, your whole identity is surfing, and it's tough to take when you come so close. And anyway, so I was actually quite fortunate that Chelsea Georgeson, she got pregnant that year, so she actually competed in snapper and bells, and then she decided to pull off. So I was next in line to go on the tour. So I got to go on tour for like 1 year, but because I didn't have the opportunity to compete in all the events, I didn't, accrue enough points to like stay on tour. And I was also doing the tour, pro juniors and QSs all in 1 year, and it was just too much. And after that, I did the QS again another couple of years after that, and I finished like 3 spots short of qualifying, 4 spots short of qualifying. And yeah, I mean, that's when I started to be kind of question, why am I doing this still? One, because I fell out of love with actually surfing, and it was kind of forgetting the reason that I even begun in the first place. And and a lot of people say this, and a lot of people go through this on the QS and they talk about the QS grind, but it there's amazing parts to it, and there's also really tough parts. And back then, like I wasn't making much, like I was making money, but I wasn't making much money. So my parents still had to put money into me to go on the QS, and that's stressful for me. There's all these other added pressures. And so, yeah, I just kind of was like, oh God, like, what am I doing? And I guess that's when I was like, that was the moment of, let's try and do something that's going to make you fall back in love with surfing. And that's when I was like, okay, let's get into the big wave stuff.
Yeah, that's cool, because I was about to say there's nothing like big wave surfing, because it's like when you're a kid, you're going to search for waves, you're trying to find the best waves, and you're usually doing it with your friends, and you're trying to score the biggest and best wave. And big wave surfing is a great way to fall back in love with surfing, especially if you're on the hunt and you're chasing it and you happen to score. But just going back a couple of steps, I want to find out, like, obviously, like when I talk to a lot of people, I'm like, hey, like, how did you find big wave surfing? Because a lot of these people are coming from LA or the east coast of Australia, and the surf doesn't get that big. But one thing that you guys did have was big waves. Like, big waves all the time. So I'm guessing that you just naturally got comfortable in, pretty big waves. Like when I say big waves, let's say more heavy waves, like heavy water, right? Like the power. And then I'm guessing, like, did you enjoy like that? Was that something that you were like had to work yourself up to, or was it something that you felt comfortable from a young age and you just gradually like went the steps to bigger and bigger spots?
Yeah, so I guess I said it quite a few times in a few different interviews that I've done, but I guess coming from Western Australia, it's renowned obviously for its bigger, more powerful surf, and we've got some of the access to some of the best, most powerful big waves in the world, as powerful as it gets. Like it matches Hawaii, I think. And so from a young age, my dad loves bigger stuff, so he was always taking me out, not like bloody massive, but he was always pushing me, and sometimes a little bit too much. Like there'd be guys that were like, hey, should you be bringing your daughter out here? And but honestly, I was like 10 years old, and it was 10-foot Margaret River main break, and he'd be pulling me out there, and I'd be like, I don't want to be out here.
Yeah.
But I look back on those moments now, and I'm so grateful that he did do that. But in the time, I was questioning everything. But it's given me one of my greatest passions in life. So I don't know.
Yeah.
But anyway, so like he would always take me out, and back then too, there was not many women in the water, let alone young girls. And the best thing is like people always talk about, oh, how are the guys towards you, like coming into that kind of, into that playing field, And to be honest, all the guys down here were so supportive, and they're always looking out for me, probably because they thought I was going to bloody die. But yeah, they'd always call me into waves and always be looking out for me. If my dad wasn't right there, they'd be like, is she coming up? And then, but it's a different playing field down here too. A lot of the guys are like hardened Aussie men. Like rough, but they all were really sweet on the inside. I just wanted to make sure that I was doing okay. But yeah, so I started surfing waves like Margaret River Main Break, Gas Bay, Yelling Up when it's big, and that's quite a good wave, especially practicing. If you hear Jake Patterson talk about that, or Paul Patterson, Ant-Man, like they say that they compare Yelling Up Main Break to Sunset. So just because of the way the water moves around, it's got different takeoff spots, it's got a west peak. So we've got waves that are very similar to Hawaii, and I just quickly became pretty comfortable with a lot of water moving around, but nothing massive yet. And then I guess I think there was a couple of bigger swells that came before I moved to the east coast of Australia. And I moved to Sydney first, then I moved to the Gold Coast. So I would have been about maybe like 14 or 15 at that time. We have a couple of big wave spots down here which you can paddle, and Dad took me out to one of them, and it's a crazy big left-hander, and I mean it gets crowded-ish now, but back then it wasn't too crowded. Yeah, he took me out there, and I was only on like I want to say like a 6'8", and most people when you surf out there you want something a bit bigger, at least an 8'0" or something, but he took me out there, and I think it must have been about 15 foot on the set, maybe a little bit bigger. And I remember catching a couple, but just being so nervous, but so excited at the same time. And I already knew I loved it back then. So it I've always loved that. And I've always felt way more comfortable competing in waves like that too. Like anytime it was going to get big for a QS event, I'd be like, right, I'm going to do well. I love this stuff, So I have always felt pretty comfortable in it.
Yeah.
But I guess that's just me being a product of growing up in WA.
Yeah, for sure. Was there any moments like with your dad and stuff where it was like a really bad wipeout, like that you remember, like that sort of like nearly shook you the other way, where you're like, I don't want to do this anymore?
So one that scared my dad, but it didn't scare me because I had no bloody idea. We were surfing. There was a bit of swell, and I was pretty young. I was 12, and we went up to this place called Lancelin, which is 2 hours north of Perth. Anyway, there's an outside reef break there, and you have to paddle out to it, and the paddle out's pretty long. Like I want to say double what it is to paddle out at Margaret River Main Break, which is a long paddle out. I'd say almost 500, 600 meters. It was a lot of swell. Anyway, so we paddled out there, had our surf, and then everyone else had gone in, and it was just us two. And that place is very sharky up there, a lot of sharks. There's been shark attacks. And anyway, so I was like, Dad, I'm going to go in. We've been out for 3 hours. And he's like, yeah, no worries. Just when you catch a wave, just start paddling straight in. I'll be on the next wave behind you and I'll paddle in with you. And he's like, just wait for me though. And then So anyway, I caught my wave and started waiting for him. And he hadn't caught one. I was like, yeah, stuff this. So I'm going to start paddling. So I head down, and back then I used to wear a little gaff helmet, a little blue gaff helmet. I wasn't allowed to not surf. I wasn't allowed to surf unless I had the gaff helmet on. Yeah. And so anyway, I had a little gaff helmet on, head down, and it was really strong offshore like we get here in Western Australia. So really tough to get in and a lot of chop. And anyway, so I started paddling, and I didn't know this, but Dad, he caught the net, like basically he caught a wave, and then he was like, far out, where is she? And couldn't see me. And honestly, he was like looking around everywhere. He's only told me this story recently, and he honestly thought he'd lost me or a shark had got me, and because I guess I was a half an hour or 40 minutes ahead of him. It's a long paddle.
Wow.
And he couldn't see my head anyway. He was looking for my blue gaff helmet. He couldn't see me, and he was freaking out. He's like, oh my God, I've lost my daughter. She's bloody been eaten by a shark. Like, what kind of a dad am I? Anyway, but I guess there was that moment. I've heard a lot of shark incidents here, actually. Like even another time I was with him, and it was just me and him. We were surfing super tubes down near Yelling Up, and it was early in the morning. It was salmon season, just me and him out. I just caught a wave, and I was paddling back out. And Dad started to turn around and paddle towards me, and he never just turns around and paddles towards me. He always catches a wave in. This is really weird. And he just like got to me, and I was like, look, just turn around and just start paddling straight in. And I was like, why? And he was like, okay, he's like, there's a big shark, like right out there, just there's a big school of salmon. And a big bronze whaler was just through the line up, just snapping up these salmon. And I was just like, holy crap, I looked up and this shark was like literally 2 meters away, a big one. It's like, holy crap. Anyway, so we turned around and paddled in. Just a lot of wildlife incidences, but
Yeah.
In terms of injury, yeah, I don't know, injuries. I had one injury, but I was like not in big waves or anything, just, been shot to the head. But
yeah. So you've sort of, you made the tour, you got a crack at it, and then, you got that sort of, started to get over, surfing in general. Through that stage, like, because there's not like at that stage too back then, there's not like a professional big wave scene for women, you know what I mean? Like, so when does the switch, like, is there a thing like going, hey, like, I want to maybe, like, because to me in that moment, I'm trying to like piece back the time and the timeline. It's probably Kiala Kenley's probably the girl that's like stands out, right? KK is the one that's charging chokes.
Maya,
Maya back then. You know what I mean? So there's a couple of girls, but it's like they're just doing it. KK's off the back of the tour. Maya's she's just doing it purely off. She wants to do it, and she's chasing waves and doing it. I'm wondering, like, was there a moment? Like, was there a moment in time when you went, you know what, like, I'm going to focus on big waves and just to get, number one, to get the love back, but number two, to see where it takes me, like see where it takes me, because most people have that moment, where it's like the flash goes off in their brain.
For me, the flash that only more recently went off. Yeah. But because I feel like for a while, even after kind of falling out of love with being on the QS and traveling around and surfing shitty waves and just not loving it, even after that, I was still tossing up, like, do I still want to do it? Do I still not want to do it? Because, like, every now and then I'd get a really good result and I'd be like, shit, you're good enough to do this. Then I'd be like, yeah, but my partner at the time, JJ, he's also my manager, and he kind of was like, well, why don't you just kind of branch off and do more of like the free surfing kind of stuff, like. And at that time, there wasn't that many women really doing it, but I mean, kind of positioned myself really well, and like I started doing a lot more of my art, and I just created more of like a brand for myself. And I guess like with the help of him, like we created something that was really cool that a lot of brands and people wanted to align with. So for that moment, for those few years, I guess I was doing well in just being a free surfer, and I was on good contracts, and I was having the time of my life, just like traveling around, surfing great waves, going on boat trips, not feeling the pressure to compete. But, and I'd had my first kind of bigger wave session out at Cow Bombie here, which you were actually over here for. And like I'd had that. So I'd had a little taste. But
I was about to say, that's probably the time, right? Like that swell I came over for, and I think it's the one that my buddy snapped his leg at, and Justin, and that was a crazy couple of days. But then you got what they said was the biggest wave ever surfed by by a female in Australia. So that sort of went viral in Australia, and then I've got to guess that probably got you an invite into Jaws potentially as well for the first time, because I think you got the first invite in 2016, right? So I'm guessing that tow session, doing the free surfing is awesome. You're doing all that stuff, and then you can add the big wave stuff into it as well. You can cut big waves in the boat trips and the edits, all that, and then you sort of get that biggest wave. And things sort of start moving in that direction.
Yeah, I mean, like I said before, I've always loved it.
But there's levels of big waves, right? You're talking and that's, I know you're laughing because you're talking okay, like big waves, then you're going to go paddle 25-foot Jaws windy.
Yeah, honestly, I know.
Now I've surfed big double XL.
Because
it's another level, right? But that's we can talk about that too, because that's the process of going from 2015 to all of a sudden being like, I remember seeing you guys walk up to Henson Bugger's house.
Yeah.
When you got the late call up, you're coming in like borrowing boards and all sorts of stuff.
Honestly, I don't think like. I mean, I feel comfortable in big surf, and I guess I'll just take you back to that moment at Cow Bombie, like first, but that was like my introduction into bigger surf, and I wasn't expecting that to be it. So I kind of am good friends with Ant-Man, Paul Patterson, and he's always like kind of looked out for me and someone that I can call to just kind of check in with all the time. Yeah, he's been great. And so I just called him up and I was like, you know what? I just like need to do something that actually makes me feel like I love surfing again. And it's always been in the back of my mind. Like I always thought that I could do it. And I was like, you know what? Maybe if I towed a few waves, like that'd be a good introduction into it, but not like a double XL swell and everyone's talking, oh, biggest swell of like this year so far. And he just sends me an email and he's like, you going? And he just sends me like the chart and I'm like, oh, yeah. I was like, yeah, I wasn't expecting my introduction into bloody big wave surfing to be a double XL swell like this. I thought we'd gradually get into it. Yeah. But I was like, far out. I guess I'm kind of an opportunist. And I was like, shit, these opportunities don't come around that often. Take it up, you know. And so flew back to WA, got on the ski, got out there. Didn't even know if I'd get a wave or even if I'd get on the skis. But I just knew that I just wanted to do it anyway. And then I ended up getting those few waves out there. And, but not with the intention of like, I mean, what you said before, it ended up breaking, actually it was Layne Beachley's record. And Layne's someone that I've always looked up to. She's like been one of my biggest role models from such a young age. Like I actually had a signed poster from her for when I was 12 years old. It sat beside my bedside table. And it said, set your goals, live your dreams, Layne Beachley. And that was sat on my bedside table until I was like 17 years old.
Yeah. Well, she's a great role model, Layne.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, she's
and then, And then anyway, so for that to happen and then people start talking like, oh, is that bigger than hers? And then for that to actually happen, I was like, shit, this is crazy. But anyway, so that happened. And after that, I was, you know, I'd had a couple of other bigger sessions too, paddle ones at Margaret River, just main break, and then a couple of those other bigger spots around the corner from there. And so I had a couple of photos from there and, a couple of photos from Cow Bombie. And I guess the first year that the women were ever going to have a big wave event at Jaws, it got announced, like the invitees and then the alternates. And I was actually just an alternate for the event. I wasn't an invitee. And I'd never surfed Jaws before, never even bloody had a look at it in my life. And anyway, like I'm always feeling really fit physically, mentally, you know, I don't know, in a pretty good spot. So we called up Pete Mel and we're like, you know, what's the likelihood of me actually getting into this? And he's like, oh, you know what, like I actually think that a couple of the girls are injured and, you know, you're probably going to get a spot. And I was like, holy shit. And but I don't think a lot of people realize that I've surfed out there one time now outside of a comp, but I literally went there with no big wave boards, no experience out there, and just rocking up to this whole different world of big wave surfing and seeing all the guys that you've looked up to and like you and like I was just like, holy shit, this is actually happening. Like what you said,
I really, it's like when I really think about it and I sit down and look, I know what I'm capable of and the training that I do and that like how much experience I've had and I still know how like nervous and scared I get when you go to Jaws, you know what I mean? Like I can't even imagine, like, because there's a lot of the girls that are like you know, they haven't had much experience. There's not a lot of, you know, women that were surfing big waves, you know, so a lot of these girls are, if someone's injured or they can't make it for whatever reason, like there's these girls that are coming into these events that like have not much experience and then they're expected to go and surf like 25-foot Jaws. And when I say 25 feet, I'm talking that's 50 feet. You know, 50-foot face Jaws, you know, and it's like, and I just go, wow, like I can't imagine the feeling that you girls have of like being nervous and scared and just rocking out to that place and just going, what is this? This is like backdoor on steroids. You know, like I mean, take us through it. Look, to give us a rundown, like what it's like, because you were like that. I mean, what was it like? I mean, you just said a little bit. You're like, holy shit! And I remember you guys walking in. Like I said, I remember you walking in, and I was like, hey, if you need a board, I think I got you a leg rope from the kind guys gave it to you, and then it's like, well, good luck, Flick. If you need anything, I'll be out there. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, you'll be right. Just go for it. You know, like.
I think in saying all, I mean, now it's a different story, like in the last couple of years when I went, but taking it back to this first time, I was one of those girls but I always knew that I was like, I think I can do this. Like I always had this little thing inside of me that like, I know I can, I know I can.
Hey, not to mention you got to go backside as well.
Well, that's it, because, So got the call that we're in the event, and flew over there, and I was absolutely shitting myself on the plane. Hadn't had a look at this place ever, knowing that I was coming up against girls like KK and Paige who have surfed there before. Well, I mean, a lot of the girls had, and I was coming from Australia, dead flat, middle of summer, coming from flat burly heads to the biggest waves in the world. And flying on the plane, getting there, arriving, trying to get boards from JJ had a friend, Phil Perry, actually, who I'm very grateful for because I've borrowed a couple of his boards a few times now. Picked up boards, went to Maui, got to Maui. I think that afternoon we actually arrived, we went and had a look at Jaws, and it's just, the swell was building, so there was a few waves breaking. And when you get your first look at the wave like that and you see how intense it is and how, like, holy crap, it's like this big natural amphitheater, like this set amongst these cliffs, and I mean, it's intimidating, and let alone I hadn't even been out there. So I'm like, I have no idea where to sit, no idea about anything. Like, honestly, I was nervous. I was real nervous, very, very nervous.
How do you go into the competition mode, right? Because if it's a big playing field out there, right? Like, people that don't know, like, you have probably 3 spots to take off. You have really out deep, the North Peak. It's sort of like where Shane Dorian and Billy likes to sit out there, Ian likes to sit out there, and then you've got where Albie likes to sit, like right on in the West Bowl. Him and Kai, like Kai sort of floats in between, and then you sort of got in between there where you can get these other ones, So it's actually a pretty stretched out playing field of where you can get waves. So I would imagine that you sort of looking at like, well, I'm going to just sort of follow these girls at like Paige and that to know sort of where they're sitting and see if I can just luck into something, on the side there.
Yeah, and that's exactly what happened. So like, I mean, even the event, it looks controlled and like it's all, when you're watching it on WSL and you look in there and you're like, oh, this event looks like it's very controlled. And, everyone knows what scores they've got and everyone knows when their heat's about to start. But once you're out there and near the channel, there's boats and jet skis bloody going everywhere. No one's staying in their lane. It's actually like controlled chaos. Yeah. And you're like, crap. Like, you can't, it's hard. Like, I was trying to get the same headspace as what I would do before I go out. Just before a regular heat, But I got a certain warm-up that I do. I got a visualization that I do. So I was just trying to get in the zone. But what were we talking about once you're actually out in the heat, where to sit? Yeah, so got out into the heat, and I think that, anyway, I actually just, same thing, what you said. I was just like, far out. Well, KK and Paige, I guess, are going to kind of know where to sit, I guess. So I sat near Paige, and in that same heat, I think it was only Paige and I that ended up catching a wave. But for me to be able to do that, I still look back on that and I'm like, far out. Like, you really went and really gave it a crack. Like, your first time out there in the heat, boom, straight into it, made the drop on your backhand. Like, it's pretty crazy, It's no easy feat. And I think going out there, and you don't realise how sucky that wave actually is and how much it draws off the reef until you're out there. It doesn't do it justice watching it. Once you're out there, you're just like, how am I going to make one of these waves on my backhand? And so for me to do that, I just remember like the moment when this wave came through, and I think Paige had caught one, and so this was like the next one behind hers, and I was like, shit, all right, you're in the spot, this one's coming through. Like, to swing around and then commit and put your head down, I was like, fuck, just you just got to go, you know. And I just remember kicking and paddling, and I almost lost it once I stood up, and I remember I almost lost it just because it sucks up so fast. Like this, there's
not to mention the wind as well.
Yeah,
like even if it doesn't look sort of like wind, the size and the speed of the wave creates its own wind to the face.
Yeah. I think that's what got me, because a bit of like wind or something got caught under the front of my board, and it kind of came off the surface of the water and then like connected again. And I just like don't know how I pulled it off, but I did. So that was such a good moment for me to be like, you knew you could do it, but you're
overcoming massive fears. Like I mean, it's not just like you could die out there. You know what I mean? People, it's or you can get really severely injured, and it's a reality. And lots of girls, lots of, not just girls, everyone, like Emmy, I think Emmy that year.
That was that year.
Tore her knee up, and so it's a reality, that you're like, okay, like I'm here and the world's watching, like that's one thing.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is like, okay, like, I do want to do this, but like, what's the risk versus reward? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then all this is playing in your mind, and then you're faced with, I'm in the spot. And it's like I got to turn and burn, baby. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. I guess the thing, honestly, I just think about my dad being like, go, like in the back of my head, just like echoing, and just to commit, because I feel like a lot of that risk can happen between that bloody moment of like hesitation and commitment. And so I just remember just being like, just go, and don't you don't want any hesitation there, because I think that's when, things can happen like all the time. Something can go wrong, but a lot of the time it happens when you're not fully committed. And I just remember going. But what you said, like, not only did we have the eyes of the world, like I think Jaws is the most watched surfing contest in the world. But it was also the first time that women had a chance, like a platform at a WSL sanctioned event, to like kind of perform. So there was that added pressure as well to be like, crap, you don't want to go there and bloody not take off. You want to give it a crack. So it's just like a bit of an expectation to kind of uphold for like women, and just be like, we can do this, So in that event, I actually ended up finishing third. And since that was the event that I was like, okay, this is what, even still then, I was still committed to big wave surfing, but not as, it's weird. I feel like only now am I fully committed to it. And that's another couple of years after. The moment happened for me at the last event of like, okay, I know I did well. I caught waves. Like I caught 3 waves. I felt like I knew my boards better. I felt more confident out there. I'd been out there before, the day before. I was really, really fortunate to actually spend some time with Andrea and Mola, and she's so knowledgeable out there, and I just felt so safe. She's a paramedic, and she took me out on the ski, and she held the record, I think, for the biggest paddle wave out. She was one of the first women to surf out there. She spent a lot of time out there, and she took me out, and she actually gave me pointers. Like I felt like I surfed it, I felt more comfortable there. I'd put in a bit more time, and then the next day the event came, and she was coaching me that whole event, and I owe my success in the last event to her, a lot of it. But as in the semi, that semi last year, I ended up catching 2 waves. And they were 2 good waves, like 2 big ones, and on my back end. And I was just really proud of how I did. And then in the final, ending up getting another one, and Paige won, and then I got second by like 0.04, and I was like, God, but that was the moment for me where it's like, hey, you've had these moments where you're succeeding without being fully prepared. Like, what happens when you do? Where if you fully prepare and fully give yourself those opportunities, and you're getting success, having success, and not fully committed. So what happens when you do? And that was the moment for me last year of, hey, let's dedicate everything to it. So now that is my full dedicate. That's where I'm at now.
That's awesome, because I think that's such a great for any, not just, especially if any young girls are going to watch this. I think that's a great explanation of, it's like anything, big wave surfing. Rarely do you see someone new just go out and start to dominate, at a spot. It takes a lot of time, a lot of experience, understanding your equipment, feeling comfortable, having some rescue. There's a lot of things, and I think that's a perfect way. You went into 2016 just from a phone call, taking a chance, and I'm guessing 2017 and 18 were probably similar, because you had a chance, but you're like, whatever, and then all of a sudden Jaws rolls around again that year, and you're like, well, I haven't really surfed a giant wave again. Here we go again. You know what I mean? And then you get to a point where you're like, okay, like I'm 3 years deep into this, and I'm gonna maybe start to set myself up for success, right? You set yourself up for success by aligning yourself with friends and people that you trust and respect in certain places, and you start to put boards in place where you don't have to fly with boards are there. Just little things, little things that about being prepared and understanding what it takes, and respecting Mother Nature and what these waves can do to you, and I could tell, those waves, the waves, not only you, but the waves that all the girls got at last year's contest were the best out of all the years, for sure.
I think, it does take time, and it's funny now that was at the moment, though. I guess because I was just still unsure of, I was unsure of what my sponsors wanted from me for a long time too. So, they kind of want you to be doing everything, and that's tricky to juggle. So I guess I always had that in the back of my head, but now I don't have a main sponsor anymore. So I am fully committed to what I want to be doing, and that is big wave surfing, and just that. And that's been nice, because I'm back here in West Oz. I'm back at home. I got access to some of the best big waves here, and had a few good sessions, like been right down south a couple of times and towed a couple of spots, and it's been good. And I've got goals set that I really like, places I want to surf and things I want to achieve, and I want to get more time on the jet ski, and exactly what you said, connecting with the right people down here, and just spending way more time in the water, and just fully dedicating my time to it, which is a nice feeling to have one focus.
Yeah. So where do you go then? Like, we're in a weird time, right? You're lucky you're in WA, obviously, because if you want to be somewhere in Australia, WA is definitely the place. You've already got a bunch of big waves. Travel, we don't know what travel is going to be like, but say there wasn't any travel restrictions, did you have plans to, spend some time in Hawaii, start surfing just bigger waves consistently, maybe take a trip to Maverick, surf Mavs? Like, what was your plan rolling into this year, and then potentially if we have a contest or not at Jaws, like what was your plan going to be?
Honestly, I've got a couple of spots that I really wanted to surf. One, I've never been to Mavericks. I'd love to get out there and give it a crack. Would have loved to have gone to Cloudbreak. I want to surf a big wave on my forehand. Like, I feel like that'd be epic. Pretty intimidating though. It looks pretty crazy, but so it was Cloudbreak, Mavericks. I wanted to get over to Hawaii earlier, and I just wanted to kind of base myself there, even just before the big wave contest kind of season starts. Like, I wanted to be there for at least a month and a bit, but I'm kind of doing all the things I wanted to do in WA, which, every time there's a swell, I'm on it. I spent time up north. I got some of the best barrels of my life at Nalu. Like, not only do I just want to be specifically big wave surfer, but I want to be great in a barrel, in a heavy barrel. And, so, these are my goals. Like, I wanted to get really pitted. And spending time up north, going right down south here and towing a couple of slab waves. I'd love to try and surf out at the right. So I'm just trying to work my way up to that, This is a pretty tricky wave to surf out there on your backhand. So just hanging out with the right people that know it really well, and but yeah, other than that, yeah, that was kind of the goals for this year. But I can still do a lot of that based in WA. But we'll see what happens at the end of the year, and we'll see.
Yeah, and what about training? Are you on a have you found a strict regiment you're on? Your strength training, anything specific that you've changed trying to get ready for the season, or just get ready in general?
So it was really great. I mean, when I was living on the Gold Coast, I would train a lot with NARM, do a lot of breath enhancement training. So I can obviously I'm based in WA now, so I don't have access to train with NARM, but I can still implement a lot of the same stuff as what I was doing over there with him over here. So if obviously I love doing the breath enhancement stuff. Gives me a sense of like confidence a little bit more. And then I really love running. I recently just got into it, so I've been running a lot, and I love just doing that. I love doing things that is really good for my cardio. I mix it up too, so I'll be doing interval training, like just sprints, but I also do some strength and conditioning.
Yeah.
And probably don't put enough time into recovery as what I should. So that's a goal. I need to do more of that.
Yeah, sauna ice and you got it covered.
Yeah. I don't mind that, but bloody hell, we don't have. I need to, save some money, buy a sauna.
Just get the sauna, and then you just can run and jump in the ocean. You'll be fine. It's cold enough. Yeah. So you lost Billabong, and then which everyone's losing. Everyone seems like they're losing everything, but But you have a big following. You have like nearly 200,000 on Instagram, and I saw that your mum and dad were artists too, right? And they passed that on to you. And if I'm right, intangible intimates is it?
Oh my god,
is your thing. But you have other things going, to keep the dream alive, right? It's like you have to branch out, and like you say, you have to create a brand, and you can tell if you look at your Instagram, you are your own brand, like you represent, things that you want to represent. And I saw you're doing the molding of the breasts with the girls and all that sort of stuff. But is that something you obviously love it, right? It's something that you love. And
yeah. I like what you said, Mum. My dad's a ceramicist, and he's amazing. He's one of the best in the world. He's been doing it for as long as I've been alive, so 28 years. My mum studied fashion design, and so I was actually doing art before I was surfing, and I love it. It's the one place where everything just feels right all the time, no matter what's going on. And so it's always been encouraged, and I've always been doing it. I was doing it before I was surfing, and it would be something that I'd try and do even when I was traveling. I'd try and take something with me so I could. I've had a couple of exhibitions. This was a few years ago, and one in Sydney and one here in Margaret River. So, and I would really like to explore that side of myself a bit more now that I have more time. And I've got a couple of projects that I've worked on for years, which would be awesome for them to actually see the light of day now that I have a bit more freedom. So, there's a couple of those things that I've been working on. And I guess I don't know, I started up an intimates company with my best friend. Yeah. We were just like, why not? We kind of saw a bit of a gap in the market, and, two best friends with no idea in the bloody, clothing industry, like what could go wrong? I don't know. But we just thought, far out, why not? Like I've got a bit of a following, and, I got a platform to showcase this on, and I don't know, we just thought, why not? But I'm exploring a lot more of my art now that I have more time. But big waves, surfing, and art is really where it's at right now.
Yeah, it sounds like it's nice to have something. It's nice to have a focus on one thing and one thing only. But there's only so long you can do that before it starts to wear you down. So I think it's really to have that balance. I think it's nice to have something that you can take your mind totally off what you're focused on, and vice versa. You can bounce back and forth. And I for me, I think when you find that balance, you get the best out of both worlds when you're able to find that.
I feel like I was always saying it before, but a lot of even young surfers now, like their whole identity is competing. And I don't know how a lot of them would be coping right now that there is no tour, because they get validation from competing. And if that's the only thing that you're placing your value on is like competitions. I mean, it can be you can be going to some pretty dark places right now, I imagine, because you need other things in your life, and you need to feel like you're more than a human than just surfing. Like, I feel like, hey, for me, like this time's been the best because, like I haven't really spent much time with my family in the last few years, and my mum's sick and my dad actually is now too. So for me to actually be here, like I just feel like I'm more than just like some competitive big wave surfer. Like I'm an artist, and I'm a brother, I'm a sister, and like I'm a daughter, and I'm here, and I'm honestly the things that matter the most. Like I'm just here, and I'm very grateful to be here. And it's funny how you like, I thought when I lost Billabong that that's the end of the world. Like it's crazy, like it's really crazy times. And I still had another year on my contract with them, but I had that term in there, like, where they can just give you 30 days notice basically and see you later. And it's crazy when you think that they're your family. But it's funny because when that happened, like I thought that was the end of the world. Not the end of the world, but because that's been my whole identity for
totally
16 years. So, I mean, that's a bit of a shock, especially when I thought, I honestly didn't think that would be the case. I thought maybe I would, take a pay cut or something, but not to be totally off the team. So that happened. Then my dad got sick, and that's just like, it puts everything in perspective of shit, who even cares about that? Like surfing and freaking contests and competing and sponsors. Like, honestly, it just doesn't even matter. Like, it does not matter at all. The only things that matter is like your friends and your family. And it quickly puts in perspective like what's important. And so right now I am just like enjoying spending time with my family. So
I think if you can take a positive out of the craziness that's happening, is that a lot of people have been able to spend time with their loved ones and maybe reconnect, because people like us, we have lived crazy lives, and before you know it, 2 decades have passed, and your parents are old, and people get sick, and it's scary, so I think that's a great perspective to have on it, Flick, and I think that's a perfect way to end. We usually end with 5 questions, so I'm gonna ask you 5 questions. You can answer as short or as long as you want. But okay. Number 1's the best big wave in the world.
I could say one spot down here. Just not.
Don't say if you're gonna get in trouble.
Oh, I won't. Definitely not. So I'd just say Jaws, probably.
Okay. The scariest big wave you've ever surfed.
Jaws.
Or
Nalu. Honestly, that wave. Oh my God. Shallow reef, people cracking their head on the reef all the time. Just so thick. Like, honestly, I've surfed Chopu as well, and Nalu, my God. Nalu or Jaws.
Pound for pound, right?
Yeah.
What's one big wave you haven't surfed that you want to surf?
Cloud break. Big, yeah. That would be on my forehand there, so I feel like all these spots are I'm on my backhand. I'm like, I want a chance to stand in a big barrel on my forehand, and
the most underrated big wave in the world. Probably another one down there that you can't mention.
Yeah, that too. But one that I really love that everyone doesn't like on tour, but I think is Margaret River. It gets big. It gets really big, and it's a really big playing field. And I think it's funny how people write it off for being a world tour event, because there's so much variety, and it really exposes you. It shows all your weaknesses and kind of all your flaws. I think that's one wave that is very underrated, and it has barrel sections, it has air sections on the right, it's got a big drop. Anyway, you can surf it from 2 foot to 15 foot, and it's tricky. It's hard.
That's why there's such good surfers come out of WA, like guys like Ant-Man and Jake that have surfed like yelling up that say it's like Sunset. That's why they were so good at Sunset and won events, so you guys definitely have a great playing field. And then the last one is What the next frontier? Where's the next big wave discovery?
For me, or for everyone?
Just in general, like how Nazare came onto the scene, and now it's where's the next wave? Where's the next big wave that's going to blow people's minds?
Honestly, there's a few down here that are quite good, but
West is best, right?
yeah. Honestly, there's so many options here. Yeah, but I get in trouble if I talk about it.
Yeah, talk about it. We'll leave it there. We'll leave it. It's okay.
What do you think?
Well, I think
Yeah.
I think there's lots of place. I think in South America, I think still down off Chile and Peru, there's such massive coastlines. I still think in Europe, I think Europe has that coastline that hasn't been explored as well. There's so many places, but even in the Pacific, I think between Hawaii and Australia, there's some atolls down there that could produce as well. But that's the beauty of big wave surfing too, like the exploring type. You want those explorer types too that aren't care about contests. They just want to go and search and find new waves. So we need those people as well.
Yeah. Wow, I look forward to seeing it. When people find them, when we can travel again.
Exactly. All right, Flick. Well, hey, thank you so much. And look, I'm look forward to following you and being in the water and getting some sessions with you. Hopefully this year you get to come to Hawaii. And if not, maybe we'll see you in WA sometime.
Yeah, nice to talk to you too.
All right, Flick. Thank you.